Hello, my name is Oz Benger. Today we're interviewing Councilman Carl Stokes, who's a candidate for mayor of the City of Baltimore.
So my background is that I'm a small business guy. I left college after fifth semester in junior year. Someone had approached me to come and manage a clothing store for them, and I said, no, I'm not very interested. I actually thought I was going to be a journalist. I was an English major in college, and I had these thoughts that I would write columns already. I thought, people were interested in whatever I had to say. But long story short, I did take this position of managing a clothing store. And after about 3 to 4 years, I'd saved a little bit of money and I got a small business loan, and I actually bought the company that I went to work for. The previous owner had decided that they were going into another business. And so I bought the business, and it grew into a chain of 3 small retail clothing stores at the time. And so I learned very quickly in a small business that pretty much I had to do everything. I had to keep my own books. I did have an accountant, but I had to keep my own books. I had to learn how to do inventory. I had to learn how to make sure that, because I was in the clothing business, there was always this issue of the seasonal stock having to change. And if you bought too much, you'd lose that because you couldn't sell it once either the fashion or the season changed. So I learned quickly how to manage the money, how to do a balance sheet, how to do inventory, bookkeeping, make sure that the register balanced every evening, etc. Learned a lot. It was a great place for me to get a start. And after that, I did other businesses, which taught me what I needed to know in terms of the business side of it. I also, when I was out of politics for 15 years, I was in for 8, left for 15, I've been back for the last 5 years. And in the 15 I was out, besides starting another business or 2, I also opened 2 charter schools, 2 public charter schools for boys. So these were nonprofit entities. Didn't make money off of these, but I felt so strongly that Baltimore City was not having enough options for children to get a good quality, high standard education. I wanted them to get the best education. And so I formed these 2 schools, and we ran those. So I've learned from the business side, the ins and outs. And by the way, when you do a public school, and we did a public school that not only did the 8 to 2:30 model. Our school opened at 7 and it closed at 7. It operated 6 days a week, and it was 12 months a year. And so I got a little money from the school system for a little bit of the time, but then I had to go out and raise $1.6 million, so that I could do all of the other services that I wanted these young people to have: after school, music, art, mental health services, etc. So we were able to do that, and it took a lot of fundraising, and it took a lot of making sure the dollar, we squeezed it until it worked out. I give you all that to say, in addition to that, I served for 6 years in the City Council. I'm back now, and I've been leading and cheering the Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee of the City Council. So again, I get to deal with the pensions, I get to deal with a lot of the economic pieces of city budget that come before the City Council. And so I'm combining my experiences both in government and in business. For example, when I came back to City Council 5 years ago, the mayor said, in my first 10 days, she said, we're going to close 15 rec centers, 6 swimming pools, and we're going to cut the hours of everything else in rec and parks. And I said, why would you do that? And she said, because we don't have enough money. And I said, are you sure? She said, well, go find it, since you're so smart. And I went over to Rec and Parks and I said, let's look at the books. Let's try to figure out how the budget where it's being spent, how it's being spent. Let's figure this out. And maybe we can find enough money to not close 15 centers or 6 pools or cut all the hours. Maybe there's some other compromise, but maybe not that drastically. And they said, well, first of all, we don't have any books to show you. And I said, what do you mean? I said, we don't do that. We don't keep books per se. I said, well, okay, just show me the last 3 years of audits, and I'll go through the audits with you, and we'll try to figure this out. And they said, we don't do audits. I said, what do you mean you don't do audits? You know, you get, I don't know, at that time, $12 to $18 million of money, and they said they never audited. And I said, since when? And I asked a couple of previous directors, and it seems that at least for the last 30 years, there has not been an audit done of the Department of Recreation and Parks. And so I said, we have to do audits. And I found out that most of the other agencies did not do audits either. None of them. And I went to the city council and I put in a bill, which I didn't think I should have to do, but I put in a bill that said every 2 years, we're going to audit all of our divisions independently by a third party or by the city auditor. But let's audit every 2 years. Well, guess what? The majority of the city council members voted that down. They said no. They said it would cost us too much to audit. And I said, do you know how much it's costing us not to audit? No, you don't, because we don't audit. I said, but Jack Young, the president of the council, worked with me to recraft a second bill, which said we would audit only 13 of the city's departments. There are over 20-some departments, and we would do it every 4 years. Now, I was very disappointed with that watered-down version of auditing financially and performance-wise, but we did pass that bill the second time. We had great resistance from the majority of the city council as well as the mayor to doing an audit. That's a long way of saying that my experience in business and government has melded together to give me what I think is the right experiences that we need as the mayor, the chief executive of the city of Baltimore.